Going on, you beautiful people of YouTube? Thank you for stopping by and checking us out. Here at Tully Television, we want to be a home for everybody. We want to be a community for the people, by the people, for the people, and people. If you like what you're seeing here, if you like what you're hearing here, please hit that subscribe bar, give us something. Give us some sort of ideas that you're holding about what we're talking about today. And today we're going to be getting into another issue of Excaliber, kind of a retro read-through for this particular title that came out way back in the day. I think that was a Wednesday or something. And basically, just see where this series goes. I don't ever really see much coverage on this original series. I see a lot of people go back and do stories like time runs out, or the extinction agenda. They do stories, but and that's okay. That's okay. But I kind of want to do, like I said, this retro read through because I always found this to be a fascinating book. It kind of deals with more wacky and interdimensional. It's more like a wacky approach to these adventures as opposed to like the X-Men or X-Force, where it's a little bit more. You're not going to get the wackiness in this, where it's like kind of like, what's going on here, man? Those other books are a little bit more grounded in reality, if you will. And over time, if you haven't noticed it, like the werewolves in issues 1 and 2, when have you ever seen those villains, these enemies in other books? Not really. And even though you may deal with some other guest appearances like you will in this particular issue that connects to other X-Men books, I just think that this title has just a different feel to it than some of the other comic books back in the past, and being written by Chris Claremont. I just think that was a rad series, and I'm hoping that you'll feel the same way. But in this particular issue, this is the cover here. We're getting the Juggernaut, baby, facing off against Captain Britain. And see, this will kind of show you, like, they're not really, not that it's not being taken serious, but we already seen that Captain Britain might get his butt whipped here, right? You know. But this particular, written by Chris Claremont, again, Alan Davis as the penciler, Paul Neary as the inker, and they also did the cover, Davis and Harry. And what we get initially is this crime boss, Vixen, who's attempting to break out the Juggernaut, who is currently being held in like a stasis chamber. That's how they're able to keep him locked away. Now, the odds are, and it's entitled Moving Day, this particular issue, and you'll find out soon enough. In this particular issue, why she's attempting to break out the Juggernaut is probably to use him for future crimes and stuff like that. And hey, why not, right? If you can get this guy busting through bank vaults and stuff, and this is kind of like what they made for him to, keep him contained. And I don't know where his helmet is necessarily, because the helmet usually protects him from psychic attacks. So here they finally break the Juggernaut out, causing distractions and helping aid in his escape. But right here we get Captain Britain punching him right in his nose. However, Kane Marco, Juggy, finds it entertaining. And this must be the first, obviously, the first interaction between these two, because Captain Britain has to actually introduce himself. And Kane is like, not a bad punch, not a bad punch. I've been, punched by better, but knocks him clear across the field there. And we see Phoenix attempting to help Captain Britain here. We see Kid. The rest of the team is trying to reel in these other prisoners escaping during the breakout because, Nightcrawler and the other team, Megan and stuff like that, can contain these guys for the most part. Megan does try to approach the Juggernaut, and even though she is sweet and everything, once she starts getting into her feral mode, she does have her abilities do enhance and stuff like that as far as fighting and everything, and her ferocity and viciousness and stuff like that. But Kitty phases her through because her experience with the Juggernaut, she knows Megan's not going to be able to beat him, and is ultimately, this here is one of my favorite panels so far. She takes him out because you notice that he does not have his helmet. So she just winds up taking him out, knocking him out, and basically they were able to save the day with this attempted prison break. Now, will there be any more attempts, any more appearances in the future by Juggernaut? Time will tell. Will we see that crime boss Vixen, who in the mayhem escaped, obviously, of course. Why would she stick around? Here we get a character by the name of Rupert Holloway. Alright? And here we find our, sorry, I hit the table there, Widget, right? Our buddy Widget here. And he seems to have been eating pretty good in the neighborhood, but he opens up a portal in which Rupert goes through and meets Saturnine, and she lives Opal Loon Sat Year. She lives across the Omniverse, okay? So, Widget opened a teleport gate to this place. So one must think that he must come from this area, this wherever this is on the other side of the Omniverse. But how did he wind up on our side? Time will only tell. Did she send him there to find a worthy person to send them back through? But he thinks that he's chosen to represent humanity, and time will again tell us what happens with these characters in the future. But interesting so far with the Widget and all this other stuff, with that story, what's going on, and where that is going to lead us here in the book. Now, the reason why this issue is called Moving Day is because everyone is starting to move into the lighthouse here, okay? Now, if you've ever lived with people, which most of us have, the voice of a new generation. Excuse me. Well, pretty much people have lived with other people, at least at some part in their life, even if it's growing up. Someone has to raise you. So, we know that when you live with other people, especially as adults, there's going to be eventual friction going on, especially when there's multiple people. Why do you think they've made reality shows out of this, right? The Real World, Big Brother, all these shows. It's to hope to get conflict amongst the residents of that house. But sometimes that just happens naturally, okay? And so we get here, and immediately Captain Britain kind of pisses Kitty off because he drops this box, this crate, that kind of held the last bit of files from her time with the X-Men and stuff, and like just things that she can no longer access because he accidentally broke it. And she lets it slide because even if she was to make a big deal out of it, what are you gonna do? Leave now? You know what I mean? Where are you going? So she just like, it's all right, but there's already starting off on the wrong foot, and this team has already kind of like been not at odds with each other, but it's having a rough start. It has not been a smooth transition. Kurt Wagner, my buddy, jumping around, waking up Brian. The bath is being used. It's just like this is what happens. I've lived in a dorm, and God, man, sometimes you can't get a bathroom for fucking hours. All right. Finally, there's a fire that happens here, and part of it is Brian's whiskey, and like then it's brought to his attention that they think that he drinks a lot, and that he's a little heavy on the alcohol, and he gets pissed off. He's saying, "Don't judge me, da da da. You don't have any right to tell me what I can do with my body or not," type of stuff. But the reason why they're picking that out is because it must be an obvious problem. He must be drunk a lot. And the reason why he's drunk a lot is, it doesn't say here in the story, but if you think about certain things that have happened up until this point, his sister dying, Elizabeth Broddock's, aka Psylocke. This was before the whole before there was an Asian Psylocke which Elizabeth Broddock was in the body of. That was way before that. That happens after the X-Men come back. But the guilt of that, the guilt of not being able to save her, the guilt of how he treated Megan before this series started. Captain Britain had his own series, which I kind of had forgotten about during these videos. But she appeared in that series, and because of her shape-shifting abilities based off of her emotional state, he kind of treated her pretty badly. He treated her more like an animal than like treating her like a person of her own autonomy, right? And until finally he realized he was wrong in attempting to do that, because it's not right to force change on someone. You can help them change or help them come to a decision about that, but the way he was going about it, based off of my research, he was being very not nice about it. He was actually treating her like she was a piece of cow manure, okay? And even though they worked things out, he still feels guilt even over that. So that's where a lot of the guilt that he's feeling from how he treated people and his lack of being able to help his sister, treating Megan the way he did, and now these stress of moving in together with other people you don't really know, it's caused him to turn to the drink. And so after he takes off, we see Kitty kind of wanting to be by herself and doing her little electrical stuff here as Rachel goes out and does some flying and exercising and stuff. And we see more strange shenanigans where she kind of seems to come across a doppelganger in a way of herself. Because if you see up here in this panel, it looks like the doppelganger, quote unquote, seems to also have a Lockheed, that Kitty has, the little purple dragon. So, what's going on? We've seen Kurt seeing some funny stuff, seeing a room that wasn't there. We've seen Kitty now seeing a doppelganger of herself or someone that shouldn't be there. So, another mystery that's going to be revealed over time. You feel me? So we get Brian talking to Courtney, his former lover, his former girlfriend, kind of explaining what's going on and everything, and she's being there for him, but Courtney's also realizing she still has feelings for Brian. She's contemplating where her place will be in his life. She doesn't want to purposely get in the way of anything else, but she's not going to be opposed if he's all of a sudden like, you know what, let's just be together again. You know what I mean? It sounds like she may be open to that, but isn't going to pursue it at this moment. Will she pursue it in the future? Only time will tell, I guess, right? And so Rachel reaches out to him and kind of tells him a thing with Kitty and stuff, and he flies off. Inferno. Yeah. I should get these issues and kind of go over that story. That was one of my favorite stories. Pretty wild. Finally, Brian makes his way back to the lighthouse. They kind of make amends and talk stuff over about what's been going on and decide to renew their efforts to being a team. And that's where the issue ends. That, yes, things may have started off a little rough for everybody involved, but let's try to make the best out of this. And that's a good lesson to learn at the end of the day. Even with our own friend groups, there will be arguments. There will be feelings of, like, why would you say something like that? Why would you do that to me type of thing, right? And it's up to you whether to resolve those issues or not, one way or the other, and either remain friends or not remain friends. And, you know, some really hard, difficult choices to make in life sometimes. And, you know, what is the appropriate reaction to certain things that are done to you or things that you feel are slighted against you, right? And so the team decides to put this in the past, try to work on things, and continue to be a team that can help protect the United Kingdom and the world. And I like how this particular issue ended. I almost forgot. How can I forget this? The back of the issue, again, I don't think this lasts forever, but they did do kind of like a cover for the front, cover for the back. My guy. Oh, Nightcrawler. Yeah, so this is the end of the issue. We'll see where the next issue brings us. I want to hear what you guys think about this series so far. I've always found it entertaining. But I want to really know what you guys think here. And that's what I have for you. And until next time, peace, Snookums.